Welcome to Fockham Hall, the smallest country in the world that is, of course, unless you know differently. Now, the reason I started Fockham Hall, I started my own country, which I've had a look into it, there doesn't seem to be any laws against it, is because I was fed up with living in a country that seems to be obsessed with doom and gloom. And since the Berlin Wall came down and the Marxist communists decided to move wholesale from the east to the west, we've had all this political correctness and all that rubbish to be out of some form of economic crisis of one sort or another. And when I left school, it was doom and gloom, a very bad year for school leavers. That was in the 1970s. And then we had another crisis, and another crisis. And the really funny thing about it is that politicians, well, let's put it this way. The country is actually ruled by banks. It's run by civil servants. And the politicians are the middlemen whose job it is to extort as much money out of us to pay off a loan to the banks that doesn't exist. And of course, I believe the banks employ many of the politicians and blackmail them, that type of thing. So, whilst we've got a correction, another country, because of course I'm in Fockham Hall now, which is a separate country, whilst Britain has got unelected private banks issuing currency, and really all the governments are just the sort of middlemen, con merchants, they haven't got a democracy. Britain hasn't got a democracy. So I thought, well, with all this doom and gloom and everybody being miserable, and they've always got stone-faced politicians saying, well, we've got a crisis now, and don't worry, the measures we're putting in, little goodies will be tomorrow, it's never today. But it's very strange, the goodies always come tomorrow and tomorrow never comes, but for the 1% elite, they come today. Isn't that amazing? So anyway, I decided to start Fockham Hall. Now, Fockham Hall, we've got our own currency, which is the Federal Union currency, official Fockham finance, of course, and also there's one main rule, you see, with Fockham Hall, and that is there ain't any rules. And the second rule is there ain't any rules, and the third rule is there's no rules at all. So there we go. Because the more government there is, the more problems there are. And let's look at individuality. What's wrong with individuals? Because when you look at history, individuals have actually done more and been the most creative and pushed the boundaries of science, etc., forward than anybody else. Henry Ford, one person. Then you have Tesla, one person. It wasn't groups of people, but you notice that governments always like people to be in groups, because groups can be infiltrated and controlled. But how can you infiltrate an individual? It's a bit difficult, isn't it? Now, the way I look on Fockham Hall is it's a bit like groups of islands. Now, for instance, Pitcairn Island is owned by Great Britain, but it's still an island on its own. Now, if you want to start your own Fockham Hall country, in your house of course, it doesn't matter, it could be a house, it could be a flat, it could even be a car if you want it to be, or even a garden shed, it doesn't matter. That's a sort of country on its own. So, all round, and it could be round Britain, America, Australia, continent of Europe, Asia, Africa, anywhere you want, doesn't really matter. You can still have, why not, for a laugh, dual citizenship. So, say you're an Australian, you could have joint citizenship, because we're going to actually do a passport that you can download off the internet. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And most countries, well, you know, they have eagles and kind of, you know, I think emus and birds and all kinds of stuff like that. Well, I thought of being the first country in the world to have a logo of a cat. So you'll have the first passport to have a pussy on the front. Isn't that marvellous? Do you think it's a good idea? You know, and also, with Fockham Hall, if any officials come to your door, for instance, suppose you get like a television licensing chap at your door. Now, it's not your door anymore, that is passport control, you see, because the front porch where I live is now passport control. They say, oh, television licensing, you just say, a passport please. It's always nice to be polite. And you could even, I'm looking on eBay to see if you can get some peak caps that you can put on with, you know, Fockham border guard or something like that. Got to be official, because official meeting official, yeah, you know. And you could say, passport please, and of course they need an entry visa. Yes, which costs around about £1,000 or $2,000 or whatever. But the big problem, you see, is that if we accept pounds sterling or dollars, that's fiat currency. So we've got to accept something. So I think that we'll only be able to accept gold sovereigns, because that is that is proper currency. And of course they can put their entry visa in. They can download it off the internet, of course, and you can put it aside and deal with it when you feel like it, you know, and fancy it. So that's sort of another idea we can actually do. And of course you can download some newsletter thing, which is the Fockham Hall Times. So stay tuned for more information, so you'll be able to not only download your own passport, but you'll be able to soon download currency, and we'll be the first country in the world to download currency. And remember, be an individual, and most of all, have a good laugh. And you just imagine these politicians standing up, pontificating about what they're going to do and all this that rubbish, and everybody laughs at them. What do? It's a bit difficult, isn't it? We just stand there and just laugh at them. Oh, by the way, that's one major thing about Fockham Hall. No psychopaths. We do discriminate against psychopaths. Doesn't matter what religion, race or whatever, we don't want psychopaths. It's for humans only. Because us humans, we're jolly nice people, and we don't want these nasty psychopaths around, because I personally believe that psychopaths are not quite human. So that's one. So it's not really a rule, but we just don't want them, okay? And so stay tuned, and there'll be more information. And I'm currently working on the passport and also the currency, which of course you can download. And the only problem is that nobody accepts it apart from Fockham Hall. Well, we'll work something out. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. It could become quite interesting soon.